going despite trading multiple picks to move up in the draft. So we've been all over this. Shannon, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you trust Kyle and his dad, Mike Shanahan, to choose the right quarterback?
I believe whoever quarterback they choose, I believe it'll be the right choice. I trust him a 10 because I know what Mike Shanahan. He was my coach for a number of years, the lion's share of my career in the NFL, and I know Kyle. Been knowing Kyle, he's probably like 10, maybe a little younger than that, carrying the cord for his dad. He had Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan became an MVP, went to the Super Bowl. Jimmy G went to the Super Bowl. RG3, Rookie of the Year, won the division. RG3 has not looked the same since. Now, maybe an injury has a large portion to do with that, but I think Mike put the system around RG3 that was going to make him be successful if he'd have just been patient. You look at what I think Kyle was the OC in Cleveland for a year.
He was.
And Brian Hoyer had his best year. So there's no question that Kyle Shanahan knows how to coach that position, and he knows what to do with that position, know how to call plays and scheme people. The question is, I think what they're asking, Skip, if he selects Mac Jones. Because I think if he selects Trey Lance or Justin Fields, everybody's going to be happy. The conundrum is Mac Jones, because they're like, hold on. A lot of what you said is that, man, look at those receivers that he was throwing to.
Yep.
Dude, he's about to have 4 first-round receivers. He's going to have 3 first-round, 4 first-round offensive linemen. Well, hell, he should be good. So for me, I trust Kyle. I trust Mike. I know Mike's going to have some input on this decision, but I trust ultimately it's going to be Kyle. Now, a reputation, this is about his job here. Because I don't know if you don't get the right guy with no first-round draft picks, Skip, for 2022 and 23. I don't know how you survive this. Now, he has, well, I think he might have got another extension. So he's straight. But this will be a hard pill to swallow for Kyle. He needs to get this right, Skip. They're trying to win right now. They don't have the luxury. And they probably, after sleeping on Skip, I'm not so sure I wouldn't keep Jimmy G. Because it's not like, Skip, we got to get this guy and we're going to be good in a year or two. Skip, they're built to compete right now for a title.
Yep.
And so how much do you trust a rookie, whomever it is, to come in and give you the best chance to win right away? But I trust Kyle and Mike Shanahan 10 to get it right at
10.
Yes.
Okay. This is a little painful for me, but I'm going to walk you through this because as much as I respect your love for the Shanahans, I've taken to calling you Shannon. I think we're myth-making to some degree when it comes to both of their abilities to take and make quarterbacks. So let's start with your man, Mike. And I have nothing but respect for him because he especially as a play caller, as a game planner, I'm not sure there's anybody much better this side of Bill Walsh than this guy. And he's sort of a product of the Walsh tree.
Yep.
Okay. So as you well know, Mike comes to Denver and inherits John Elway at age 35 after John had been to 6 Pro Bowls and 3 Super Bowls. Obviously, he had lost the 3 Super Bowls. But he was it. He was the reason they got to the 3 Super Bowls, and he was pretty much all they had and why they lost. Okay, so what does he do? He actually de-emphasizes the quarterback position because Terrell Davis falls out of the sky, Brady-esque, into your laps as a sixth rounder, just like Tom Brady. And what happens? He becomes your driving force to 2 Super Bowls. Not that you didn't contribute and John didn't contribute, because you both did.
But we were a running football team.
You were a running football team, and you ran to 2 Super Bowls in 97, 98. And I still believe if John had said, let me try it again in 99, even if he's going along for the ride, I would have liked your chances. And no one's ever won 3 in a row, but he said, I'm done. I hit the wall. Okay, so I got that. But he's out, and your man Mike goes into the draft, and he picks Brian Griese in the 3rd round and says, I can make him my next guy. And Brian proceeds to go 27 and 24, and he was never that guy, right?
We had 1 Pro Bowl season, I think, in 2000.
Okay. Then he signs Jake Plummer as a free agent from Arizona. And Jake was pretty good in the regular season because you went 39 and 15, or they went 39 and 15.
Yeah, I played 1 year with Jake.
Played 1 year with him. And in the playoffs, not so great because he went 1 and 3. And the 1 was a big upset victory over Tom Brady at Denver, which used to be his house of horrors.
And that was actually, Tom was going for the 3-peat that year, Skip, because remember, they went back-to-back.
He was. Okay. So that was the end of Mike in Denver. So now he goes to Washington Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not true because now we got Jay Cutler. I left out Jay Cutler. Okay, so I love Jay Cutler because I went to Vanderbilt and I watched him. But Mike trades up from 15 to 11 to take Jay Cutler. And as much as I loved him, and as much as Mike tried to make him into what he could be, maximize his potential, which I thought was huge, Jay went 17 and 20 as a starter for those 3 years that he started in Denver, and that was the end of Mike Shanahan.
I think the one thing, Jay Cutler had all the physical tools. The one thing he didn't have was a passion to play the game of football.
Okay, you could be
and you
right.
can't, and Skip, there's no way really to determine that. Because when you look at the guy on tape, you see the guy making all the throws. Skip, if I'm not mistaken, Jay Cutler might have been like SEC Player of the Year one year.
His last year he was.
So let that sink in for a second.
And trust me, I watched him as a junior go to Florida and just tear them apart.
He didn't love the game, Skip.
Okay. He loved it for a while, but not enough.
Right.
Not high passion, not high study.
Not to be great at that position.
Okay, I got it. But he had huge talent. I thought it was a sweet move to go up to 11 to get him. It was one pick after Matt Leinart went to Arizona. Okay, so now Mike goes to Washington. And he tries Donovan McNabb. Kind of at the end of his line, he goes 5-8 with Donovan. No, Donovan as a starter. Then he tries Rex Grossman, goes 5-8. And then the owner wants to draft Robert Griffin III, and he wants Kirk Cousins. But he did say, okay, I'll take you. If you force him on me, I'll take him.
The owner wanted Donovan McNabb too, but that's not here nor there.
Okay, got it. All right, fair enough. But with RG3 as a rookie, to your point, he did just a brilliant job. He put Robert exactly in the system, which is why I look at what they could do with Trey Lance in San Francisco.
Because he scrapped his system now. That was nothing that they have never run.
Okay, and it worked because Robert, as a starter, went 9-6 that year. Obviously, he finally got hurt because he just didn't know how to slide. He couldn't get it through his head. He's such a great athlete, but he couldn't do that. Right. And it cost him his career.
I believe it did.
That was the end of him. So he
might have been able to salvage Skip if he'd have just been patient.
Okay.
If he'd just been patient and rehab properly and gave himself some time.
I got it, but it didn't happen. 4th round, that same draft, Mike got his guy, who was Kirk Cousins, Michigan State. And Kyle loved him too, and so they wanted to go forward with him. In the end, Kirk Cousins went 26-30-1 as the starter in Washington. And Dak, as I kept bringing up, beat him all 4 times, went 4-0 against Kirk Cousins. I've never been a believer in him. You've had your moments. You've kind of been on and off. I still think Minnesota dramatically overpaid for him. He's been pretty good at times, but not that guy. Okay? So I'm not sure they ever worked miracles with Kirk Cousins.
Well, was it a couple of years ago he beat Aaron Rodgers? Remember, he beat Aaron Rodgers.
He's had his moments.
So he can have some moments now. He get hot.
Okay? So I look at Mike outside the Elway years and the Shannon years for the most part. He made the playoffs 5 times in 16 years and went 1-5 in the playoffs, except for your Super Bowl runs. Okay, so now we look at Kyle as a coordinator and a head coach. He's made the playoffs 3 times in 13 seasons. And in San Francisco, this is it, man. You better nail this one, and it better manifest itself quickly, or you're going to be on the clock here pretty soon, right? So in Houston, he had Matt Schaub.
Matt Schaub had some great years.
They did okay, but they didn't make the playoffs. Okay. And then when I look at what happened in Atlanta, that one year in Cleveland, Brian Hoyer had a great year, but they went 7-9. But he maxed out. Brian Hoyer's pretty good. Okay, I got it. But then, remember, Matt Ryan had made 3 Pro Bowls before 2016, and he did have the guy you call the best receiver in pro football in Julio, among other pretty talented receivers, and here they came, and there they went. And he wins MVP, and they make it to the Super Bowl. How much credit should I give Kyle? Some. I'll give you some, but he was already established. It's like he didn't come out of left field. He didn't come out of nowhere and win MVP, right? Okay, like I would give the Baltimore staff more credit for what they did with Lamar to win MVP than that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And plus, Matt Ryan was the 3rd overall pick. Lamar, they traded back into the last pick of the draft to select him. So I'll give you that. Yeah, no question.
In San Francisco, they've tried C.J. Beathard. They've tried Brian Hoyer. They've tried Nick Mullins. And yet they did have Jimmy G fall into their lap. But did it work with Jimmy G? And I'm talking about work to win the Super Bowl, where they're in position to, but they couldn't close the deal because of Jimmy G. And now it feels like they're about to cut bait
Yes.
with Jimmy G,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I'm with you. It seems like, especially if you end up taking Trey Lance, really if you end up taking Mac Jones.
Anybody.
You might want to keep him for the 1 year just to get you through the night.
Correct.
And get the kid a little readier to get thrown into that fire.
Skip, all the guys that you mentioned, I mean, for the most part, Skip, when you look up until a couple of years ago, probably like the 2000s, you couldn't win the Super Bowl if you didn't have a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
You look at the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, there was no guys just popping up out of nowhere. All those guys from Star to Staubach to Montana to Bradshaw, Skip, they were MVP. They was in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
You go back and look at Phil Simms is not in the Hall of Fame. Trent Dilfer's not in the Hall of Fame. Brad Johnson. All the other guys, Kurt Warner, in the Hall. That's normally what it takes. So, and the 54 Super Bowls, 55, however many it's been, you might have 3 or 4 guys that's not in the Hall of Fame that's won the Super Bowl. I think Jim Plunkett also.
Okay, but with Phil Simms / Hostetler, what did they have?
Defense.
They had.
Well, you got to guarantee the defense.
Taylor, okay?